The night had the kind of stillness that only came after a storm, the kind where the air smelled faintly of wet asphalt and electricity, and even the streetlights seemed to hum with unease. Outside the upscale riverside restaurant, the parking lot was nearly empty, its puddles reflecting streaks of neon from the glowing sign above the glass doors. Inside, laughter and clinking glasses filled the air. But out here, under the dull bars of flickering lamps, something darker was stirring. Ethan Cole stood beside his old gray sedan, one hand resting on the door handle, the other clutching the keys he hadn't yet used. He was dressed simply, faded jeans, a worn jacket, boots that had seen better years. His face carried the calm of a man who'd worked too long, seen too much, and learned the value of silence. He wasn't the kind of person anyone noticed in a crowd. That was his gift. In the back seat of the car, his 6-year-old daughter Lily was fast asleep, her tiny hand curled around a stuffed bear that had lost an eye years ago. She'd fallen asleep on the drive, exhausted after her school's parent night. Ethan had promised her ice cream, but she hadn't lasted long enough to enjoy it. Now, her steady breathing was the only soft rhythm in the tense quiet of the lot. He was about to open the driver's door when he heard hurried footsteps. Not the sound of a casual stroll or a drunken couple leaving a late dinner, but the sound of panic. 2 boys, maybe 19 or 20, came sprinting from the restaurant's back exit, their tuxedo jackets flapping, shoes splashing through puddles. Their eyes darted wildly as if the night itself was chasing them. Ethan's instincts sharpened instantly. The taller of the two, dark-haired and frantic, stopped short when he saw Ethan. "Please," he gasped, his voice cracking. "Help us." Behind them, a black SUV rolled slowly into the lot, its headlights off, its engine rumbling low and menacing. 3 men stepped out. They weren't here for dinner. Broad shoulders, black leather jackets, gloved hands, every detail screamed trouble. The kind of trouble that knew what it was doing. Ethan's eyes moved from the twins to the men, then back again. His pulse slowed, the way it used to before everything went wrong years ago. He looked calm, but beneath the surface, his body was already calculating distances, exits, light angles, weapon options. The dark-haired twin clutched his brother's arm. "They're coming. Please, just help us hide." "Behind me," Ethan said without hesitation. Something in his voice made the boys obey instantly. They ducked behind him, trembling. The SUV doors slammed shut. The 3 men started walking toward them, slow and confident, like wolves who'd already cornered their prey. Ethan didn't move. The leader of the group was tall and heavy-set, with a shaved head and a long scar running from his ear down to his collar. His voice carried easily in the empty lot. "You really think you can protect them, old man?" Ethan met his eyes. "Back away now." The man smirked, glancing at his partners. "You hear that? He's giving us orders." A thin man with tattoos snorted. "Maybe he doesn't know who he's talking to." Ethan didn't answer. His tone had been soft, even polite, but something in the way he stood made the air heavier. His feet were evenly planted, shoulders relaxed, one hand in his pocket, as if the whole thing bored him. The scarred man took another step forward. "They don't belong to you, so walk away before." "Before what?" Ethan asked quietly. The man hesitated, just for a moment. He wasn't used to being interrupted. He wasn't used to anyone not being afraid. Ethan's voice remained calm, but it carried an undercurrent that made the hairs on their necks stand. You came here thinking no one would stop you. You thought fear would do the work. But I'm not afraid of you. The tattooed one barked a laugh. Yeah, then you're an idiot. Ethan tilted his head slightly, studying them like one studies an approaching storm, measuring when it will break. His daughter's reflection flickered faintly in the car window behind him. That was his line, his unspoken rule. No one scared his kid. No one touched the innocent. The leader raised his hand, signaling his men forward. Teach him to mind his own business. The first thug stepped closer, swinging a metal rod lazily. Ethan didn't flinch. Instead, he took one small step forward, not back. His eyes locked onto the weapon, not the man. He saw the slight imbalance in the thug's stance, the shift of weight to the front foot, the careless overconfidence. When the rod swung toward his ribs, Ethan moved, quick, silent, precise. He sidestepped, caught the man's wrist, twisted, and the rod clanged against the asphalt. A split second later, the thug hit the ground hard, air rushing out of his lungs in a grunt. The twins gasped behind him. The second man cursed and charged, throwing a wild punch. Ethan ducked, drove his elbow into the man's stomach, and sent him stumbling backward into a parked car. The sound of shattering glass echoed through the lot. Now only the scarred leader remained. He stared at Ethan, his expression darkening. You've got guts, old man. But guts won't save you. Ethan straightened slowly, rolling his shoulders. You're right, but they'll slow you down. The leader roared and swung. Ethan blocked, turned, and used his attack's weight against him, slamming him into the hood of the nearest car. The metal dented with a sharp thud. For a moment, the world went still again, only the faint sound of the river nearby and the heavy breathing of the men on the ground. Ethan stood, chest rising and falling steadily, eyes still cold, still watching. The two boys behind him, Noah and Nathan westward, stared in disbelief. They'd grown up surrounded by guards, drivers, and cameras. No one had ever fought for them like this, especially not a stranger. Noah finally found his voice. Who are you? Ethan didn't look back. Get in the car. But, now. The command carried a quiet authority that left no room for argument. The twins scrambled into the back seat, squeezing beside Lily's car seat. She stirred slightly, then went back to sleep, unaware of the chaos outside. Ethan reached down, picked up the dropped metal rod, and tossed it aside. Then he glanced at the groaning men on the ground. Stay down, he said evenly. You come near them again, and next time you won't get up. He got into the driver's seat, started the engine, and pulled out of the lot without looking back. As the car rolled onto the quiet street, Noah finally spoke again. You just took on 3 men. Why? Ethan kept his eyes on the road. Because you asked for help. Nathan leaned forward slightly, his voice trembling. They're going to come after us again. You don't understand who they are. Ethan's jaw tightened. You'd be surprised what I understand. They drove in silence for a while, the glow of the city slowly fading into the distance. Ethan could see their reflection in the rearview mirror, two boys in tuxedos, pale and frightened, looking nothing like the heirs of one of the richest families in the country. He didn't know what trouble they were in, but he knew one thing: the kind of men who hunted teenagers in the dark didn't stop easily. He took a slow breath, steadying himself. He'd promised himself years ago he'd never get involved again, never pick up a fight that wasn't his. He'd buried that part of his life, the soldier, the protector, the man who once worked in places where shadows had names and orders were whispered. But tonight, in a wet, lonely parking lot, all it took was a cry for help to pull that man back from the grave. And as his car disappeared into the night, the black SUV's headlights flickered to life again in the distance. The men inside were furious, humiliated, and already planning their next move. Ethan didn't see them yet, but he felt it, the way predators watched before striking. He adjusted the rearview mirror slightly, his eyes narrowing. If they came again, he'd be ready. Because there were two kinds of men in the world: those who ran from danger, and those who stood between danger and the innocent. And tonight, Ethan Cole had made his choice. He didn't know who the Billionaire twins were, or why they were being hunted. But it didn't matter. He had one rule that had kept him alive this long: you don't walk away when someone's in trouble. Especially not when someone's watching from the back seat, learning from your every move. His daughter, small and safe, dreaming quietly through the storm he just stepped into. The road ahead shimmered with streetlights, the rain starting again, soft and persistent. Ethan's hands tightened on the wheel as the city faded behind him. Somewhere deep down, he already knew, tonight was only the beginning. The rain began to fall harder, streaking across the windshield as Ethan drove down the dimly lit highway. The city lights glowed faintly in the rearview mirror, fading behind them, swallowed by the dark. Inside the car, the silence was thick, broken only by the steady rhythm of the wipers and the quiet breathing of three passengers, two shaken young men and one sleeping child. Lily's head rested against her car seat, her small fingers still gripping the teddy bear like it was the only thing safe in the world. Ethan glanced at her briefly, then returned his focus to the road. His knuckles were white on the steering wheel. Every few seconds, he checked the mirrors. Old habits. The kind that never died, no matter how hard you tried to bury them. The twins sat in the back seat, tuxedos wrinkled, their expensive shoes smeared with mud. Noah, the taller one, was trying to catch his breath. Nathan, quieter and slighter in build, stared out the window, eyes lost in the darkness rushing by. "Are we safe?" Noah finally asked, his voice breaking the silence. "For now," Ethan replied, not turning his head. His voice was calm, but something in it made both boys uneasy. It wasn't fear, it was control. The kind of control that came from someone who'd been in worse situations. "Those men," Nathan said quietly. "They're not random thugs. They were sent." Ethan raised an eyebrow, though they couldn't see it. "By who?" Nathan hesitated. His throat worked as if the words tasted like poison. "Our father's competitors. Or maybe someone inside his company. We don't know anymore. It's complicated." Ethan gave a small humorless chuckle. Complicated tends to mean dangerous. Noah leaned forward, his voice trembling slightly. "You don't understand. We were at the charity gala tonight, at our family's hotel. Everything was fine until Dad's head of security pulled us aside. He said there'd been a breach, something to do with confidential data from Westwood Tech. Then he disappeared, and 10 minutes later, those men were following us." Ethan's jaw tightened. "So you ran." "We didn't have a choice," Nathan murmured. "Our phones were smashed. The car service didn't show up. The restaurant was the only place with lights on. And you found me," Ethan said flatly. Noah managed a small, bitter smile. "Lucky us." Ethan didn't answer. He kept his eyes on the wet road stretching ahead, the yellow lines blurring under the headlights. He didn't like coincidences, and this was too neat to be one. A late dinner, a parking lot, and suddenly 2 billionaires running for their lives right into his path. It didn't feel like luck. It felt like fate, something he'd stopped believing in long ago. Nathan leaned forward slightly, studying the back of Ethan's head. "You fought like a soldier back there." Ethan didn't flinch. "You watched too many movies." "No," Nathan pressed. "I've seen people fight before. Dad's had security teams since we were kids. But you didn't hesitate. You didn't even look scared." Ethan sighed, the kind of sigh that came from exhaustion, not annoyance. "Fear's useless if it doesn't keep you alive." Noah frowned. "You talk like someone who's been trained." That made Ethan glance at them in the mirror for the first time. His eyes were calm but carried something: depth, pain, memory. Then he looked away again. "Trained to survive, maybe." They rode in silence again. Outside, the rain softened to a drizzle, and the glow of a bridge appeared ahead, lights stretching over the river like a string of gold. Ethan slowed the car, steering onto the side road that curved toward the bridge. He pulled over beneath the shadow of an overpass and killed the engine. The twins tensed immediately. "Why are we stopping?" Noah asked. Ethan didn't answer right away. He got out, walked a few steps into the rain, and looked back toward the city. The skyline was faint, distant, but he could see lights moving, headlights. Cars. Too far to identify, but close enough to make his gut twist. He walked back, opened the door, and leaned against the frame. "We can't go home. Not yet. They'll be watching the main routes." Nathan frowned. "How do you know that?" Ethan gave a small, dry smile. "Because that's what I'd do." Noah exchanged a glance with his brother. "Who are you, really?" For a long time, Ethan didn't answer. The rain pattered softly on the car roof, and the only light came from the dashboard's dim glow. His expression was unreadable, but his voice, when it came, was quiet and steady. "I used to work for people like your father," he said. "Private security, high-risk operations. I protected powerful men who thought they were untouchable." Noah frowned. "Used to. Until one night, I wasn't paid to protect anymore. I was paid to disappear." The twins stared, confused. Ethan continued, his tone low, controlled. "There was an assignment overseas. We were told to escort an executive out of a hostile zone after a leak went public. We were ambushed. It wasn't random. Someone on the inside sold our location. My partner," he paused, his jaw tightening, "didn't make it. And the client. He vanished before we even got out. The company blamed us. I walked away. Started over. Mechanic shop. Small town. Quiet life. Nathan's voice softened. And your daughter? Ethan glanced back at Lily, still asleep. She's the only reason I made it out. For a moment, no one spoke. The boys' expressions shifted. Less fear now, more respect. But before the silence could stretch, the night was broken by a flash of headlights behind them. Noah turned, eyes wide. Is that? Ethan's instincts kicked in before the question was finished. He jumped back into the driver's seat, started the car, and shifted into gear. Hold on. The black SUV appeared again, this time faster, more aggressive. It swerved into the lane behind them, high beams cutting through the rain. They found us, Nathan shouted. Ethan's face hardened. They were tracking you, not me. He floored the accelerator. The tires screeched, throwing water behind them as they shot onto the bridge. The SUV followed, gaining speed. Ethan's mind went into a familiar mode, a rhythm he hadn't felt in years. His breathing slowed. Every movement became deliberate, efficient. He checked the mirrors, gauged distance, wind, traction. The car rattled, old but steady under his hands. The twins clung to their seats, terrified. A gunshot shattered the rear window. Glass sprayed into the car. Lily stirred, whimpered, then fell silent again. Ethan's heart stopped for half a second. Noah yelled, "They're shooting at us." Ethan swerved sharply, the tires skidding. "Stay down." The bridge curved slightly, and up ahead, a maintenance lane branched off. Ethan took it without hesitation. The SUV followed, fishtailing on the wet pavement. Another gunshot cracked through the air, this one missing by inches. Ethan gritted his teeth. "They're trying to disable the car, not kill you." Nathan ducked low. "That's not comforting." Ethan spotted a construction barrier ahead, an unfinished section of the bridge where an exit ramp curved down toward the docks. He slammed the brakes, turned the wheel hard, and the car skidded sideways through the gap. The SUV overshot, sliding past and slamming into the guardrail with a deafening crunch. For a moment, the world seemed to stop. The only sound was rain and their heavy breathing. Ethan didn't wait to see if the men were down. He drove on, following the narrow road that wound under the bridge until they reached the industrial area by the river. The smell of oil and saltwater hung heavy in the air. He finally pulled over near an abandoned warehouse, the engine ticking softly as it cooled. The twins sat motionless, still catching their breath. Nathan looked pale, Noah furious. "This is insane," Noah muttered. "Why would anyone go this far?" "Because money," Ethan said simply. "Or power. Usually both." Noah rubbed his face, trembling. "Our father, he's been dealing with hostile takeovers, cyber threats. Someone hacked into our internal systems last week. They said if the data gets out, the company's done. Maybe this is connected." Ethan leaned back, staring through the windshield at the dark building ahead. "Then whoever's behind it isn't playing games. They're trying to send a message." Nathan looked at him. "What kind of message?" "That no one's untouchable." The rain started again, gentle this time. Ethan turned off the lights and sat in silence, listening to the sound of water on metal. His body was still tense, his mind racing. Every instinct told him to get the boys somewhere safe and walk away. He'd done his part, but something about their faces, the raw fear, the way they clung to each other, stirred something in him. He thought of Lily. If she were in danger one day, would anyone stand up for her the way he had tonight? Noah spoke quietly, breaking his thoughts. You didn't have to help us. You could have walked away. Ethan glanced back at them. Yeah, I could have. Then why didn't you? He looked at his daughter again, asleep in the back seat, the faintest smile on her lips despite the chaos around her. Because some lessons, he said softly, you teach by example. Nathan frowned slightly. You think you can protect us? I don't think, Ethan replied. I know I can. They stared at him, realizing for the first time that this wasn't bravado, it was certainty. A quiet, unshakable belief built from scars and regrets. But beneath that calm, Ethan knew the truth, he couldn't protect them forever. Whoever was after the Westwood twins had money, reach, and resources. He was one man with a child, a broken car, and a past that refused to stay buried. Still, for tonight, they were alive. That had to count for something. He turned the key halfway, letting the heater hum softly as the windows fogged. Get some rest, he said. We move before dawn. Noah and Nathan exchanged a glance, but neither argued. Exhaustion took over, and soon their heads leaned against the seatbacks, eyes closing. Ethan stayed awake, watching the rain slide down the glass. Somewhere out there, engines were still running, men still searching. But for now, this quiet pocket of time belonged to him, to them. He adjusted his jacket, feeling the old ache in his shoulder flare up again. It was the same one he'd gotten years ago from a job that went wrong, a reminder of what happened when you trusted the wrong people. He'd told himself he was done with that life. But the truth was, that life was never done with him. It waited, patient, shadowed, ready to call him back the moment someone needed saving. He looked once more at Lily, then at the two young men asleep beside her. He'd keep them alive. He owed that much, to his past, to his partner, to himself.